Together we can hold them off." Her words struck something deep within Silra. She had never considered the humans capable of this level of determination, this unwillingness to yield. They were not gods nor monsters. They were guardians, fearless in the face of danger. And for the first time, Silra felt a flicker of hope that her people could survive. The raiders struck with fury. Energy blasts lit up the skies, tearing through trees and rippling across the rivers. Silra guided Lorelian citizens to safety, using her wings to shield children and elders from the falling debris. Humans fired with precision, their weapons striking enemy ships before they could reach the cities. Together, their combined efforts slowed the invaders, but the battle was far from over. Silra noticed one raider ship break through the perimeter, heading straight for the central city. Without thinking, she dove in front of it, spreading her wings wide, preparing to stop it at any cost. Humans responded instantly. Ilara's ship shot a beam of light that forced the raider ship to veer away. "Go!" Ilara's voice boomed through comms. "We've got this." "You protect the people!" Silra hesitated, then nodded. She realized something profound. Humans did not abandon those in need. They risked themselves to protect others without hesitation, without question, and they expected the same courage from their allies, not as a command but as a shared duty. As the raiders retreated, burning and wounded, Silra landed on a high bridge, her wings heavy with fatigue. The Lorelians cheered softly, relief and gratitude mixing with awe. Humans had saved them not just once but again. They had defended an entire world. Silra looked at Captain Ilara, her chest swelling with emotion. "Your people, they fight not for conquest but for protection," she whispered. Ilara nodded, her eyes reflecting the fading light of the twin suns. "Yes, protection is what makes life worth living. It is what makes us human, and now your people are under our guard, always." For the first time, Silra understood the depth of their promise. Humanity did not simply conquer or claim. They defended, they protected, and they would never leave the innocent to face danger alone. Firelia was shaken, its cities scarred, but its people were alive. And in that moment, Silra realized that the bond between Lorelians and humans had been tested, and it had endured. The battle for Virelia raged under the twin suns, turning the glowing rivers and floating cities into a battlefield. Explosions tore through the forests, sending shards of light and stone flying in all directions. The Lorelians had never faced such fury before, and fear clawed at their hearts. But humans moved with calm determination, their ships weaving through enemy fire, their shields holding strong against the relentless raiders. Silra soared above the chaos. Her wings singed in places, her energy nearly spent. She guided fleeing Lorelians to safety, blocking falling debris with her shimmering feathers and placing herself between danger and those who could not defend themselves. But even as she saved others, she knew the humans were risking even more. Their ships darted through the firestorm, striking at the enemy with perfect precision, yet they had no shield to protect their own lives completely. A raider ship broke through the human defensive line, heading directly toward the central city. Panic rose in Silra's chest, and without thinking, she dove toward it. Her wings flared like silver lightning, and she pressed herself against the ship, trying to divert it from the city below. Sparks flew, the ship shuddered, and Silra felt her strength falter. From above, a beam of pure light struck the raider, forcing it to veer away. Silra looked up to see Captain Ilara herself, piloting a smaller, agile ship, risking everything to protect both Silra and the city. The Lorelian Guardian's heart swelled with emotion. Humans did not simply fight. They shielded, they sacrificed, and they trusted others to stand beside them. The battle continued, and more raider ships fell under the combined assault of human strategy and Lorelian bravery. Silra's people began to fight back in ways they never had before, inspired by the humans' courage. They spread out across the sky, their wings cutting through smoke and fire, protecting civilians and each other. Humans covered them, intercepting enemy fire, teaching without words how to face fear with determination. Hours passed like minutes. Exhaustion threatened to overwhelm Silra, yet she could not stop. Every time she faltered, she remembered the child she had saved, the same child who had connected her to the humans. That connection, fragile yet powerful, gave her the strength to keep going. She realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Finally, as the last raider ship exploded against a human shield, silence fell over the battlefield. Smoke rose in twisting columns and the forests bore the scars of destruction. The Lorelians landed gently, wings heavy and hearts pounding while the humans regrouped, scanning for any remaining threats. Silra landed beside Alara, her chest heaving. She bowed deeply, her feathers ruffling from fatigue and pride. "You risked yourselves for us," she said softly, voice trembling. "Why?" Alara smiled, though her face was streaked with soot and sweat. "Because protection is what defines us. We fight not for glory, not for power, but for life. Every life, no matter how small or strange it may seem." She placed a hand lightly on Silra's shoulder. "And now your people are safe, thanks to all of us working together." Tears ran down Silra's cheeks, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and awe. She had known bravery, but never like this unyielding, selfless courage. Humans had risked everything, not for conquest, but for protection. And in that moment she understood that her species was not just surviving the battle. They were witnessing a promise, a legacy of guardianship that could never be broken. The Lorelians gathered around, their eyes wide with admiration and hope. Silra spoke to them, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "Today we have learned something more important than any weapon or shield. We have learned what it means to protect and to be protected. Humans have shown us courage, and now we know that together we are stronger than fear itself." Above the horizon, the twin suns set, casting golden and violet light across the battlefield. The ruins of the raiders' ships glimmered faintly in the aftermath, a testament to sacrifice and trust. And deep in her heart, Silra knew that the bond formed today would shape the future of Virelia forever. Humans were not just visitors, they were guardians. And from this day forward, no Lorelian would ever feel alone. The battle was over, but the echoes of its fury still lingered. Virelia's forests bore the scars of fire, the rivers shimmered with debris, and the floating cities had taken damage that would take time to repair. The Lorelians moved cautiously among the ruins, wings folded in exhaustion and grief. Yet despite the destruction, there was a sense of hope in the air, a fragile but growing promise that life would endure. Silra walked beside the child she had saved, now laughing freely as he explored the wounded forests with curious wonder. His joy was contagious, and she could not help but smile, her wings fluttering gently in the soft light. Humans were repairing their ships, tending to injuries, and sharing their knowledge with the Lorelians. Every interaction seemed to weave the two species closer, building trust not through words alone, but through deeds, care, and shared struggle. Captain Alara moved among them, calm and patient, explaining repairs, teaching strategies, and encouraging the Lorelians to rebuild their homes safely. Silra watched her with quiet admiration. Humans, she realized, did not simply fight to win. They worked to restore, to teach, and to heal. Their courage was not only in battle, but in their unwavering commitment to protect and nurture. The child ran up to Silra, holding a small, glowing flower he had picked from the forest floor. "Look," he exclaimed. "It survived." Silra bent down, her feathers brushing his hair, and nodded. "Yes," she said softly. "Even after fire, life finds a way." The simplicity of the moment, the innocence of the child, reminded her why she had acted that day to protect him. It had begun a bond far greater than she could have imagined. The Lorelians began to gather in small groups, observing the humans with curiosity and respect. Some mimicked their movements, learning how to handle tools and repair machinery. Others watched silently, absorbing every word and gesture, understanding that these beings were unlike any they had known. Humans carried both strength and compassion in perfect balance. Silra stood atop a broken bridge, wings catching the fading sunlight, and felt a deep sense of connection. She realized that the humans had not just saved a child or defeated raiders. They had changed the Lorelians' understanding of courage, trust, and the possibilities of the universe. Their actions spoke louder than words, teaching lessons of empathy, responsibility, and selfless protection that would echo for generations. At night, the twin moons rose, casting gentle light across the repaired city bridges. Humans and Lorelians gathered around small fires, sharing food and stories. Lorelian music mingled with human laughter, creating a harmony neither species had experienced before. Silra listened to their conversations, feeling an unfamiliar but comforting warmth. She realized that bonds could exist beyond language, beyond species. They could be built from shared experience, shared care, and shared survival. Captain Alara approached Silra quietly, offering a small nod of respect. Your people are learning quickly, she said. They are brave and they will sue. The planet Varelia was a jewel of the galaxy. Twin suns bathed its forests in golden light. Rivers glowed like liquid crystal, and mountains floated in the air as if lifted by magic. Its people, the Lurelians, were gentle and graceful, with wings that sparkled in the sun. They lived in harmony with the planet, building cities that hovered above the glowing rivers, singing songs of peace, and never thinking much about the stars beyond their sky. But everything changed the day the humans arrived. No one had seen them coming. The sky turned dark with the shadow of a massive ship. It moved silently but carried a weight of presence that made the forest creatures scatter in fear. The Lurelians had heard stories of distant worlds and strange visitors, but they had never imagined a being so tall, so powerful yet so calm, stepping onto their soil. Inside the ship, a small human child wandered, curious about the alien world outside. He was no older than 7, with wide eyes filled with wonder. The child had slipped away from the human crew while they prepared their scanning equipment, leaving them unaware of his absence. In the same forest, a predator prowled. Its fur was dark as midnight, and its claws were long enough to tear through steel. It moved silently, stalking the innocent child. The Lurelians saw it and froze. They had never hunted anything like this, and their instincts told them danger had come. Some of them whispered, "Should we help? Should we stay away?" Among them was Silra, a young guardian with wings that shimmered like liquid silver. She felt a deep pull in her chest, a mixture of fear and responsibility. Her instincts screamed to act, and she knew that hesitation could cost a life. Without thinking, she leapt from the floating bridge, her wings cutting through the air, and positioned herself between the predator and the child. The predator lunged, and Silra struck with precision, pushing the child out of harm's way. She hissed, spreading her wings wide to intimidate the creature. The predator growled, circling, testing her, but Silra stood firm. With one final roar, the predator retreated into the shadows. The child fell to the ground, trembling but unharmed. He looked at Silra with wide eyes, not understanding what had just happened. Silra bent down, gently brushing her glowing feathers from his face. "You are safe now," she whispered. Far above, the humans realized their child was missing. Panic surged through the ship. The crew searched desperately, their voices tight with fear. When they saw the child safe, standing next to a winged alien, relief washed over them like a tidal wave. The child reached for Silra, hugging her leg as if he understood she had saved him. Silra stepped back, unsure of how to react. She had only acted to protect life, as any guardian would. But as she looked into the child's innocent eyes, she realized something new. Humans were not like other beings she had met. They were strong, determined, and above all, they cared deeply about one another. When the humans finally approached, led by a tall woman with eyes sharp yet kind, Silra felt a strange emotion she could not name. The human's voice was calm but commanding. "You saved him," she said softly, her tone full of respect. "You chose to protect life even when it was not yours to protect." Silra bowed her head, unsure of how to respond. She had only followed her heart. "I did what I must," she said simply. The human smiled faintly. "Sometimes saving one life changes everything," she said. Silra did not understand fully, but a strange warmth filled her chest. Something had shifted. In that instant, she knew this encounter was not just an accident. It was the beginning of a bond that could change the fate of her people forever. And deep in the forests of Varelia, under the twin suns, the first threads of trust and destiny began to weave between the gentle Lurelians and the humans who had come to their world. The humans had never seen anything like the forests of Varelia. Every tree glowed softly, every river shimmered with light, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers that pulsed with energy. But they had no time to admire the beauty. Their child had been in danger, and the reality of the forest's hidden predators reminded them that this world, though beautiful, could also be deadly. Captain Alara Voss stepped forward, her boots brushing the glowing grass. She was tall, with eyes that reflected intelligence and compassion. Her gaze landed on Silra, the Lurelian who had saved her child. She studied her silently, noticing the way her wings caught the sunlight, the strength in her posture, and the quiet bravery that radiated from her every movement. Humans trusted courage when they saw it, and Alara knew she had found it here. "You saved him," Alara said softly, her voice calm yet filled with emotion. "You chose life over fear, Silra lowered her wings slightly, unsure of how to respond to this strange human. She had only acted instinctively. "I did what any guardian would do," she said quietly, her voice trembling just a little. Alara took a step closer, careful not to frighten her. "Your courage, it is rare, and it is beautiful." She looked past Silra at the child who clung to her side, eyes wide with wonder and relief. "Because of you, my child lives. And because of that, everything changes." The words puzzled Silra. She had never considered that a single act could ripple through the universe. Guardians acted to protect their people, their homes, their world. But humans spoke as if one life could hold the weight of countless destinies. Silra felt something stir inside her, a mixture of awe and understanding she could not yet name. The child looked up at her, smiling, his small hand reaching out. Silra hesitated, then allowed him to grasp her glowing feather. He giggled softly, and Silra felt warmth fill her chest, a strange comfort that she had never known before. The humans began to move, setting up scanning devices and safety measures, but always with one eye on their child. Silra observed them carefully. They spoke in precise tones, yet every gesture showed care, patience, and purpose. Unlike raiders or hunters who she had heard of in whispers, humans did not take life lightly. They valued it, protected it, and would go to great lengths to preserve it. "Why do you care so much for one child?" Silra asked finally, her voice low, almost hesitant. Alara knelt slightly, looking into her eyes. "Because every life matters," she said simply. "And sometimes saving one life changes everything." The Lorelians around them watched silently. They were cautious but curious, sensing a difference in these beings. Humans did not demand loyalty or obedience. They offered something else: trust, protection, and a promise that those who could not defend themselves would not be left alone. Silra nodded slowly. She did not fully understand, but the feeling in her chest was undeniable. Humans could be fearsome, yes, but they could also be guardians, relentless and unwavering in their duty to protect the innocent. She realized that the child she had saved was more than just a human. He was a bridge, a spark that connected two very different worlds. For the first time, Silra felt hope beyond her forests, beyond her floating cities. She realized that humans, though strange and powerful, could be allies, not threats, and in that moment she made a silent promise to herself. She would watch over them as they had watched over her child. The forest seemed quieter after that. Even the wind through the luminous trees felt gentle, as if the planet itself understood that something new had begun. Trust had been planted, fragile but strong, and somewhere deep in her heart, Silra knew that the bond between her people and these humans would shape the fate of Virilia forever. The suns dipped lower, casting long golden shadows across the glowing rivers, and under their light, two very different species, connected by courage and compassion, took their first steps toward understanding each other. For a few days, Virilia seemed calm. The twin suns rose and set over glowing rivers, the floating cities shimmered peacefully, and the Lorelians whispered to each other about the humans who had arrived. Silra watched from above the trees, her wings glinting in sunlight, as humans and Lorelians cautiously explored each other's worlds. The air was filled with curiosity, hope, and the fragile beginnings of trust. But peace never lasts forever. Without warning, distant blips appeared in Virelia's skies. Shadows, dark and heavy, stretched across the land, blotting out the twin suns. The Lorelians had never seen ships like these. Sleek, angular, and ominous, they hovered in orbit with an aura of danger. Word spread quickly through the floating cities. These were raiders from another star system, merciless and hungry for conquest. Silra felt a cold knot of fear tighten in her chest. She had always protected her world with courage and skill, but these invaders were unlike anything she had faced. They carried weapons that could tear through their floating cities, shields that seemed impenetrable, and a hunger that could not be reasoned with. The Lorelians panicked, fluttering through the forests and skyways, unsure of what to do. The humans, however, moved with calm precision. Captain Alara stood atop a ridge overlooking the approaching ships, her eyes steady and unwavering. She called out orders, her crew responding instantly. Shields activated, defensive drones deployed, and the humans formed a protective perimeter around the floating cities. Silra flew closer to Alara, her wings trembling slightly.
"They will destroy us!"
"Our cities, our people," she whispered, fear choking her voice. Alara looked at her expression firm but gentle. "We will not let that happen," she said. "Not while we are here. You protected our child, and now we will protect your world. Stand with us, Silra." "Revive. But what makes them stronger is not only bravery, it is trust, and they are learning it from you and from us." Silra's chest swelled with emotion. "I never imagined humans would care so deeply," she whispered. "Not just for the child, but for all of us." Alara smiled softly. "Every life matters. That is why we fight and why we protect. Today was a beginning, Silra. Tomorrow, your people will stand taller, and the bond between us will grow stronger." Silra looked at the child laughing among the Lorelians, at the humans tending to repairs, and at her people slowly regaining their confidence. She knew that the world was not fully healed, but it was alive, full of potential, and connected in ways that nothing could break. In the glow of the twin moons, Silra understood the truth of Alara's words. Courage and compassion, trust and protection, they were not limited to one species. They were universal, and through them, a new chapter had begun for Veralia, a chapter in which humans and Lorelians were no longer strangers, but allies, friends, and guardians of each other's future. Months passed, and Veralia began to heal. Forests regrew where fire had burned, rivers shimmered clearer than before, and floating cities rose again stronger and brighter. The Lorelians worked tirelessly, guided by Silra and encouraged by the humans who remained on the planet. Every repair, every reconstruction was a lesson in resilience and hope. Silra stood at the edge of the central city, wings spread against the sunlight, watching humans and Lorelians work side by side. She marveled at their dedication, their careful attention, and their patience. Humans did not simply give orders. They explained, guided, and trusted the Lorelians to act. And the Lorelians, inspired by these strangers who had saved their world, rose to the challenge with courage and determination. Captain Alara called for a council meeting in the heart of the central city. The Lorelian elders gathered, wings folded in respect while humans stood with calm authority, waiting for the proceedings to begin. There was a quiet tension in the air, not of fear but of expectation. The Lorelians understood that this meeting would decide something important, the future of their species under the watchful presence of humanity. Alara stepped forward, her voice firm yet gentle. "Your world is yours," she said. "Your cities, your children, your forests, they belong to you. But your safety, your future, your people, that is now under humanity's guard." The words sank into the hearts of the Lorelians. Some gasped softly, wings trembling. Silra felt her chest tighten. She had expected help, guidance, maybe training, but a promise of protection for her entire species? It was more than she had ever imagined. "You saved our child," Alara continued, her eyes scanning the assembly. "You acted with courage and honor, Silra. And in doing so, you reminded us of a truth humans carry across the stars. When one life is valued, all lives matter. Your species is under our protection now, and we will not abandon that promise." Tears formed in Silra's eyes. She looked at the elders, some nodding, some quietly bowing their heads in gratitude. She realized that this was more than a promise, it was a bond built on courage, trust, and compassion. And it was eternal, unbreakable, and sacred. One elder stepped forward, voice quivering but steady. Why do you care for us so deeply?" "We are small, weak, and untested in the ways of the galaxy." Alara smiled, soft yet full of certainty. "Because every species, every life has value. Protection is not measured by strength alone, but by the willingness to stand for what is innocent, what is fragile, what is worth preserving. You are not just weak. You are alive, and that is enough to earn our vigilance." Silra spread her wings, feeling a warmth she had never known. Humans had given her people something more than safety. They had given them hope, purpose, and the knowledge that the universe was not indifferent. They had given them guardians who would never abandon them no matter the cost. The Lorelians bowed their heads in respect, acknowledging the humans' offer. But Silra remained standing, looking out over her world, feeling the connection deepen between her people and the visitors who had changed everything. "We will honor your promise," she said quietly, voice firm with emotion. "And we will grow stronger, not just for ourselves, but with you beside us." Alara nodded, eyes gleaming with pride. "That is all we ask. Stand tall, protect your world, and know that you are never alone. Humanity watches over you, as we watch over every life that cannot defend itself. As the suns dipped low, casting golden light across the repaired cities, Silra felt a quiet peace settle over her. Varelia was not only surviving, it was thriving with humans as steadfast guardians and allies. She looked at the glowing rivers, the restored cities, and the laughter of children, human and Lorelian alike, and knew that this was the beginning of a new era. A promise had been made, and it would endure through time, through challenges, and through the vastness of the galaxy. Humanity had proven its courage, its compassion, and its boundless commitment to protect. And for the Lorelians, life would never be the same. Years had passed since the battle that had threatened Varelia, but the memory of that day remained alive in the hearts of the Lorelians. Forests had fully recovered, glowing rivers flowed clearer than ever, and the floating cities shone with renewed brilliance. Children laughed as they played among the trees, and the streets were filled with music and life once again. Yet the strongest bond was not in the rebuilt cities or repaired bridges. It was in the hearts of those who remembered how humanity had saved them. The child Silra had protected was now grown, running freely across the meadows with Lorelian friends, laughter echoing under the twin suns. Humans still remained on Varelia, small outposts serving as watchful guardians, quietly teaching, repairing, and helping the Lorelians prepare for any danger that might arise. Silra observed from above, her wings stretched wide, heart swelling with pride and gratitude. Humanity had not just saved a life, they had changed the fate of an entire species. Silra remembered the first day she had saved the child, the fear, the thrill of courage, and the quiet awe she had felt watching humans risk everything for a life that was not their own. That day had led to this, a world alive, thriving, and protected. Humans had shown her that strength was not measured by domination, but by the willingness to stand for others, to protect what was innocent and fragile, even at great personal cost. Captain Alara's crew continued their vigilance, but they had become more than guardians. They were friends, teachers, and symbols of hope. Their presence reassured the Lorelians, and their example inspired courage, patience, and wisdom. The Lorelians had learned that bravery could be quiet as well as bold, and that trust and compassion were as powerful as any weapon in the galaxy. One evening, as the twin suns set and painted the sky in shades of gold and violet, Silra stood on a cliff overlooking the city. She watched human and Lorelian children playing together, their laughter a melody of life and freedom. She felt a warmth in her chest, knowing that the future was safe because humans had made a promise that could not be broken. Alara appeared beside her, calm and serene, her gaze reflecting the last rays of sunlight. "They are happy," she said softly, "and they will be safe. That is the promise we made. That is what being human means." Silra nodded, feathers brushing in the gentle evening wind. "You have changed everything for us. For my people. For the child I saved," she whispered. "I do not know how to thank you enough." Alara smiled. "No thanks are needed. Protection is our duty. Compassion is our strength. And courage. Courage is what connects us all." She looked out over the land, her expression one of quiet pride. "The bond we have formed here is more than temporary. It is a legacy, one that will endure as long as life exists." The Lorelians gathered nearby, standing tall and proud. They had seen what humanity could do, not just with weapons or ships, but with their hearts. They had learned courage, sacrifice, and the power of protecting what is innocent. And in their songs, stories, and daily lives, humans were no longer strangers. They were legends, friends, and eternal guardians. As night fell and the first stars appeared, Silra looked up to the heavens, thinking of the countless worlds beyond Varelia. Humanity's presence had changed one planet, one species, but their actions echoed across the galaxy. They had proven that strength could be gentle, courage could be selfless, and protection could define a species more than conquest ever could. And somewhere in the silent vastness of space, Captain Alara and her crew watched over Varelia, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as guardians. Every child, every life, every Lorelian citizen was under their watchful care. Humanity had left a promise, a legacy of hope and protection that would endure for generations. Silra folded her wings, feeling the quiet weight and beauty of what had been accomplished. The world was alive, free, and safe, and the story of that human child, the courage of a guardian, and the relentless protection of humanity would be told forever, an eternal reminder that life is worth fighting for, and some promises once made last for all time. The end.